There are three things, three ingredients, a succession, if you will, of three stages that we see repeated in history over and over again. And in every situation, those three successive events always lead to the exact same result: national calamity. Stage 1, the corruption of religious leaders, which produces a corrupt church. Stage 2, the corrupt church expands its influence by numbers, and it expands numbers by false conversions, and the false converts naturally produce tyrannical government. Stage 3, which is the final stage, the corrupt church works in harmony with the corrupt civil government to ultimately remove Christ and his influence from society.
Daniel's prophecy concerning Antiochus Epiphanes continues in Daniel 11. His heart will be set against the Holy Covenant, and he will take action and then return to his own land. He will be disheartened and will return and become enraged at the Holy Covenant and take action. So he will come back and show regard for those who forsake the Holy Covenant. Forces from him will arise, desecrate the sanctuary fortress, and do away with the regular sacrifice. And they will set up the abomination of desolation. By smooth words he will turn to godlessness those who act wickedly toward the covenant. Antiochus Epiphanes acted in the spirit of Antichrist. The church leadership pandered to him. The youth were indoctrinated against their own faith, especially rejecting the laws of God. An apostate party of Hellenized, compromised, pandering Jews was created. Despite all their concessions against their own people to curry favor for themselves and secure their own seat at the table with Antiochus, Antiochus rules them with fear, slaughters his Jewish adversaries, plunders their temple, and rewards them with contempt, letting them live to pander yet another day. Josephus writes, "He took the city without fighting, those of his own party opening the gates to him. And when he had gotten possession of Jerusalem, he slew many of the opposite party, and when he had plundered it of a great deal of money, he returned to Antioch." The people mourn and are thrown into confusion. Antiochus leaves them in disarray and returns 2 years later to be greeted by the same spineless religious and political panderers who have amassed a party of the lawless, the weak, and the compliant. A group of people who despise virtue and love compromise. Surely, since compromise through incremental forfeiture of all things good and decent has worked for them so far, and allowing them to climb the political ladder in a good show of bipartisanship, displaying a willingness to do what it takes to get things done, surely they have sufficiently distanced themselves from their backward purist counterparts who cling to their swords and their Bibles. Antiochus will not abuse them, surely. Josephus continues his description. The king came up to Jerusalem, and pretending peace, he got possession of the city by treachery, at which time he spared not so much as those that admitted him into it, on account of the riches that lay in the temple. And in order to plunder its wealth, he ventured to break the league he had made. So he left the temple bare. By this means cast the Jews into great lamentation, for he forbade them to offer those daily sacrifices which they used to offer to God according to the law. And when he had pillaged the whole city, some of the inhabitants he slew, and some he carried captive, together with their wives and children. He also burnt down the finest buildings. And when the king had built an idol altar upon God's altar, he slew swine upon it, and so offered a sacrifice neither according to the law nor the Jewish religious worship in that country. He also compelled them to forsake the worship which they paid their own God, and to adore those whom he took to be gods, and made them build temples and raise idol altars in every city and village, and offer swine upon them every day. He also commanded them not to circumcise their sons, and threatened to punish any that should be found to have transgressed his injunction. He also appointed overseers who should compel them to do what he commanded. And indeed, many Jews there were who complied with the king's commands, either voluntarily or out of fear of the penalty that was denounced. But the best men and those of the noblest souls did not regard him, but did pay a greater respect to the customs of their country than concern as to the punishment which he threatened to the disobedient, on which account they every day underwent great miseries and bitter torments, for they were whipped with rods, and their bodies were torn to pieces, and were crucified while they were still alive and breathed. They also strangled those women and their sons whom they had circumcised, as the king had appointed, hanging their sons about their necks as they were upon the crosses. And if there were any sacred book of the law found, it was destroyed, and those with whom they were found miserably perished also. After all these atrocious acts, Antiochus Epiphanes fortifies Jerusalem with wicked men and sends a message throughout his entire kingdom that all should be one people and should leave the laws of God. And all the heathen agreed. Why? Because unity. Why must the Jews sit down and shut up? Because unity. Why is religious freedom stripped away? Because unity. Why were Jews forced to participate in, condone, and practice idolatry to pagan gods under penalty of death? Because unity. Why were Jews then forced into hiding in caves? Because unity. Why were Jews slaughtered? Because unity. Why were their Bibles burned? Because unity. The faithful and the innocent are slaughtered. No outside help comes. The neighboring Samaritans, who in times past claimed kinship with the Jews, sent a note to Antiochus. We aren't with them, we're with you. If only the purest Jews among them could be a little less dogmatic, a little less legalistic. In the words of 1 Maccabees 1:49, to the end they might forget the law and change all the ordinances. If only they could learn from their dirty preachers and crooked politicians how to build a big tent. Sacrifice to God in secret if you want to, but publicly, you kill pigs for Zeus like everybody else.